Before every victory, there is a moment. Before every failure, there is a moment. The world doesn't decide your destiny. Your reaction to that moment does. Right now, in this room, each of you stands at the doorway of something huge, but you must learn to master the moment before the moment masters you. Life doesn't break us because life is unfair. Life breaks us because we are unprepared. The most critical moments never announce themselves. They arrive suddenly, and they test your character, not your comfort. A moment comes when someone challenges you. A moment comes when pressure hits you. A moment comes when fear rises in your chest. A moment comes when your mind starts to panic. And in that moment, the world is not listening to your excuses. It is only watching your reaction. You see, everyone wants a bright future, but only a few understand the truth. The future is not shaped by days or years. It is shaped by moments. If you lose control in that moment, the moment controls your destiny. But if you master your state, if you master your thoughts, if you master your emotions, then you master your future. So today, I am not here to motivate you for 10 minutes. I am here to awaken something inside you, a quiet power that already exists within you. You just need to learn to use it when the moment arrives. Because the difference between the one who shines and the one who disappears is not talent, not luck, but how they handle their moment. Most people think that their failures come from fate, luck, or destiny, but in reality, most failures come from reacting too quickly. Life throws situations at you, and before your mind even understands what is happening, your emotions jump in, take charge, and create damage. Awareness means you refuse to let your emotions control your decision. Instead, your intelligence takes the lead. Think about any moment when you reacted instantly without pausing. Later, you wished you had waited, thought a little more, spoken a little less, chosen a different approach. In that moment, the lack of awareness robbed you of clarity. Awareness is like having a flashlight in a dark room. When a situation comes, a challenge hits, or someone provokes you, awareness illuminates what is really happening. Without it, you stumble, panic, and make mistakes. This is the difference between a mind that is awake and a mind that is asleep. When pressure rises, the unconscious mind always wants to respond first. Anger jumps out, ego jumps out, fear jumps out, defensiveness jumps out. But when you develop awareness, you create a gap between stimulus and response. That tiny gap holds your freedom. In that gap, you choose. You decide what to do. You decide how to speak. You decide how to handle the situation. That gap is power, and every successful person has learned to create that gap. But the majority of people are slaves to their immediate reactions. They say something they regret. They act impulsively. They let pressure defeat them, and later they wonder why nothing improves in their life. Awareness means you turn impulsive chaos into deliberate intelligence. Awareness allows you to read the situation instead of being controlled by it. It allows you to understand the intention behind what is happening. When someone tries to provoke you, awareness shows you that it's not worth reacting. When life gives you a setback, awareness shows you that it's temporary and not a permanent defeat. Awareness gives you the ability to see through illusions, emotional storms, and misunderstandings. It becomes your inner shield, protecting you from decisions that would damage your growth. A mind without awareness is like a car without brakes. No matter how powerful the engine is, it will crash eventually. You might have talent, intelligence, ambition, and skill, but if you cannot pause and think clearly in crucial moments, you will sabotage yourself. You will hurt relationships, damage your reputation, miss opportunities, and lose control. Awareness transforms your talent into something long-lasting. It turns intelligence into wisdom. It turns emotional storms into calm decision-making. It turns everyday pressure into personal growth. Without awareness, emotions are loud and wisdom is silent. With awareness, wisdom becomes louder and emotions become manageable. Awareness also shifts your perspective. Instead of reacting based on insecurity or fear, you respond based on clarity and strength. You realize that not every situation deserves your energy. Not every argument deserves your voice. Not every insult deserves your attention. Awareness makes you selective, strategic, and intentional. You stop reacting to everything and start responding to only the things that truly matter. In fact, many problems you face would disappear if you simply stayed aware long enough to not react emotionally. Awareness is the moment you catch your thoughts before they control you. You notice your anger rising, but you don't let it command you. You notice your ego wanting to defend itself, but you choose silence. You notice fear trying to make you quit, but you remain steady. You notice impulsiveness wanting to rush decisions, but you give yourself time. You become the watcher of your mind, not the follower of it. This is where personal mastery begins. You are no longer run by your emotional reactions, you guide them. Awareness also creates emotional maturity. You become someone who can listen without fighting back, someone who can pause without freezing, someone who can think without overthinking. Your reactions stop being random and start becoming intentional. This builds respect. People start trusting your judgment. They start valuing your presence. They know you won't panic, rage, or lose control. You become grounded, centered, strong. The world respects someone whose mind is present and aware. Awareness is not something that appears suddenly, it is built through practice. It starts with simply being conscious of your thoughts before they escape into words. It starts with recognizing your emotions without letting them dominate you. It starts with watching your reactions instead of obeying them. And as you practice, you rise above the chaos of impulsive living. You create a life where moments do not master you, you master them. In every challenging moment you face, the real test is not the situation itself, but whether you remain aware or lose awareness. If you keep awareness, you stay powerful. If you lose awareness, you surrender control. The quality of your awareness determines the quality of your decisions, and the quality of your decisions shapes the quality of your life. Awareness is the bridge between who you are now and who you can become. Emotional discipline does not mean you stop feeling emotions. It means your emotions no longer control your life. Every human feels anger, fear, sadness, excitement, insecurity, and frustration. That is normal. What is not normal but extremely powerful is the ability to feel those emotions fully while still choosing your actions consciously. Emotional discipline is when you are able to look at your feelings like waves in the ocean. The waves may be strong or calm, but you remain the ocean, not the wave. You remain steady, not shaken. Most people do the opposite. Their decisions depend on mood. Their reactions depend on triggers. Their behavior changes like the weather. When they feel good, they act good. When they feel pressured, they become someone else entirely. And this lack of consistency destroys relationships, growth, personal trust, and long-term success. Emotional discipline gives you stability. When pressure increases, you do not break. When someone provokes you, you do not explode. When things don't go as planned, you do not lose your grounding. You stay centered. You choose logic over impulsiveness, clarity over chaos, wisdom over reaction. That is strength. Most people think emotions are enemies, but actually emotions are signals. Anger tells you something feels unfair. Fear tells you something feels unsafe. Sadness tells you something means a lot to you. But emotional discipline means you listen to the signal without letting it drive you into harmful decisions. It is like hearing a fire alarm but not setting your house on fire yourself. When you lack emotional discipline, you give the power of your life to circumstances. Your emotions rise and fall depending on what others say or do. Someone insults you, you overreact. Someone disagrees with you, you take it personally. Someone leaves you out, you feel worthless. Someone challenges you, you become defensive. But when you develop emotional discipline, you realize you don't need to react to everything. You don't need to match energy with negativity. You don't need to respond to everything that tries to bring you down. Your peace becomes your priority. And when your peace is safe, your judgment is strong. Emotional discipline also protects you from self-sabotage. Many people lose opportunities not because they lack talent or intelligence, but because their emotions hijack them at the wrong moment. They got angry in front of the wrong people. They panicked in front of pressure. They argued when silence was wiser. They complained when focus was needed. They made permanent decisions based on temporary feelings. Emotional discipline saves you from that trap. You learn to take a breath before you speak, to step back before you act, to reflect before you react. Instead of saying what feels right now, you say what will feel right later. That is maturity. It is also true that emotional discipline doesn't appear magically. You have to cultivate it. The first stage is awareness. The second stage is choosing your response. You might still feel the surge of anger, the sting of insecurity, the rise of fear, but you don't let these feelings push you into impulsive actions. You hold your position. You breathe. You observe your emotion instead of becoming the emotion. You train your mind like a muscle. Over time, the same situation that once triggered you will no longer disturb you. The same word that once hurt you will no longer move you. What once felt overwhelming becomes manageable. Your emotional threshold increases. You become mentally stronger. Emotional discipline also gives you power in your relationships, not domination, but respect. When people see that you don't lose control, that you don't explode, that you don't take everything personally, they begin to trust you. They feel safe around you. They open up to you. They believe in your stability. Because emotional discipline shines as reliability. When you are steady, people know they can depend on you. And reliability is more valuable than raw talent. A disciplined Ind is far more respected than an emotionally explosive one. Another hidden benefit of emotional discipline is clarity. When emotions are chaotic, your thinking becomes blurry. You can't see the full picture. Your judgment becomes narrow. You miss important details. But when the mind is disciplined, even strong emotions cannot cloud your vision. You stay rational in the storm. You stay thoughtful in the chaos. You stay strategic in the heat of pressure, and that clarity helps you choose the right direction when others are blindly reacting. Emotional discipline allows you to respond instead of merely surviving. It helps you stay grounded even when life tests you. It gives you the strength to delay impulsiveness and choose long-term growth over short-term explosions. It keeps you from burning bridges that you may need later. It protects your self-respect and your inner peace. Emotional discipline is not emotionless living, it is powerful living. It is where you feel everything but break at nothing. It is when you can sit with uncomfortable feelings without letting them control your behavior. It is when you master the storm instead of drowning in it. And when you reach that level, moments no longer overpower you. You remain the master of the moment. Preparation is not just a routine, it is a mindset. It is the understanding that confidence is not borrowed from others, nor is it something that magically appears when you face challenges. True confidence is built through the quiet hours when nobody is watching you. It is built when you train, when you read, when you practice, when you envision, when you refine yourself. Many people wonder why they feel nervous or uncertain in important moments, but they fail to see that confidence is simply the result of preparation. You cannot expect to stand strong in a critical moment if you have not prepared for it mentally, emotionally, and practically. Preparation makes your foundation solid. It gives you certainty about yourself. It gives you trust in your abilities, and it makes your mind calm even under pressure. There is a huge difference between a person who prepares and a person who relies on luck. The one who prepares walks into the moment with steadiness, with clarity, and with readiness. The one who relies on luck walks into the moment with hope, but fear living in their heart. Preparation eliminates fear, because fear is simply a lack of knowledge or experience. When you prepare, you close that gap. You become familiar with the situation even before it happens. You think through possibilities. You practice responses. You strengthen your skills. And suddenly, the situation that once scared you now looks manageable. Preparation doesn't remove difficulty, but it removes helplessness. It turns uncertainty into strategy. It turns confusion into direction. It turns pressure into a chance to demonstrate the strength you have built. Confidence is misunderstood. Most people think confidence is an emotion, but it is actually evidence. Evidence that you have prepared. Evidence that you have worked. Evidence that you have practiced. When you have prepared, your confidence is not arrogance, it is assurance. You are not pretending to be ready, you actually are ready. It is like walking into an exam when you have studied deeply. You do not panic because your mind knows the answers. But when you walk in unprepared, even easy questions seem impossible. Life is the same. The moment of challenge becomes easy when you have prepared for it. Preparation begins long before the moment arrives. It begins in daily habits, in the discipline of staying committed, in the willingness to practice even when it feels boring. Preparation means you respect your goals, you respect your future, you respect the moment that It means you don't wait for pressure to command you, you prepare so that you command pressure. Preparation also gives you mental calmness. When you know you're equipped, the mind stops exaggerating the fear. Instead of asking, what if I fail? Your mind starts saying, I know I can handle this. That inner shift, that internal peace is priceless. Another powerful aspect of preparation is that it builds consistency. You don't just perform well once, you perform well every time because you have built the skill into your system. When you practice something repeatedly, it becomes natural. It becomes part of your identity. You no longer have to push yourself. It flows from you because you have refined it. You become reliable, dependable, steady. People trust those who prepare because their performance does not depend on luck or mood. It is earned, not accidental. Preparation also teaches humility. It reminds you that outcomes are not based on wishes, they are based on work. A person who prepares doesn't underestimate challenges, but they don't fear them either. They understand the weight of the moment, yet they know they are ready for it. They don't bluff confidence, they build confidence. And when you build confidence, you don't seek validation from others. You validate yourself. Your preparation is your proof. Many people want confidence without preparation, just like they want success without effort. But confidence without preparation is fragile. It breaks under pressure. The moment something unpredictable happens, that false confidence collapses. But confidence forged through preparation is different. It remains firm, even when the situation changes. It holds strong, even when unexpected difficulties appear. Prepared people adapt because preparation gives awareness and clarity. Preparation also connects you with purpose. When you put effort into something, it becomes meaningful to you. You don't just participate, you commit. You don't just attempt, you execute. Preparation transforms you from someone who wishes into someone who deserves. Confidence built through preparation never needs to prove anything, it simply expresses itself through action. Think of any moment you want to conquer in life. Think of any opportunity you want to grab. Think of any goal you want to achieve. There will always be a moment where your preparation will be tested. And in that moment, you will realize that preparation doesn't just build skill, it builds character. It builds resilience. It builds the ability to handle pressure without breaking. It gives you the inner voice that says, I have earned this. I am ready. When the moment arrives, confidence doesn't come from what you hope will happen. Confidence comes from knowing that you have prepared for the moment long before it appeared. And with that preparation, the moment no longer scares you, you meet it with calmness. You meet it with strength. You meet it knowing that you do not belong to the moment. The moment belongs to you. Panic is the enemy of clarity. It is the emotional storm that blinds the mind, blocks the intelligence, and turns simple situations into impossible ones. The difference between someone who succeeds and someone who struggles is not that one faces fewer challenges. Both face problems, pressure, uncertainty, and unexpected situations. The difference is that in the crucial moment, one responds and the other panics. Panic shrinks your vision, makes you rush, makes you say things you regret, and makes you take actions you never intended. The moment you panic, you hand over your power to the situation. But when you respond, you keep your mind steady, you keep your awareness awake, and you choose deliberately instead of reacting out of fear. Panic is not just fear, it is uncontrolled fear. Responding is not staying emotionless, it is staying intelligently emotional. When you panic, you get trapped inside your emotions. When you respond, you step outside your emotions and think. Life will put you in many situations where things don't go according to your plans. People may disappoint you. Conversations may become heated. Unexpected problems may arise. Something may fail right when success looked close. In those moments, your first instinct will be to panic. The mind will scream to react impulsively. The heart will push you to respond emotionally. But the moment you give in to panic, you lose control. Responding is about keeping a pause between your emotion and your action. It is giving yourself a moment to breathe, to think, to understand what is happening instead of blindly reacting. When you respond, you step into the role of a creator of outcomes, not a victim of circumstances. Panic makes you reactive, response makes you strategic. Panic makes you weaker, response makes you stronger. Panic turns pressure into chaos, response turns pressure into opportunity. Many people blame difficulties for their failures, but the truth is, difficulties don't defeat you. Panic does. Panic destroys confidence, destroys communication, destroys judgment. A person might know what to do, but when they panic, they forget everything. Panic makes the mind feel trapped, compressed, unable to access its own intelligence. Responding, however, opens space inside you. You feel the challenge, you acknowledge the pressure, but you don't allow it to rule you. In that space of inner calmness, your ability to make the right decision increases. Think about any moment in your life where you reacted instantly, emotionally, without pausing. Later, you wished you had acted differently. You wished you had stayed silent, thought more, waited a little longer. That regret was not caused by the situation itself, it was caused by panic. When panic enters, wisdom leaves. But when you remain grounded, wisdom flows naturally. Responding allows your inner clarity to guide you. You speak when necessary. You stay silent when necessary. You take action only after thinking. Responding is also deeply connected to maturity. Immature minds panic. Mature minds pause. Immature minds get triggered. Mature minds evaluate. Immature minds rush, mature minds analyze. Responding does not mean you become slow or passive. It means your decisions become intentional instead of reactionary. You do not let temporary emotions create permanent consequences. You choose your words knowing they carry weight. You choose your actions knowing they affect your future. Many people misunderstand responding as suppressing emotion. It is not suppression, it is mastery. It is not running away from your feelings. It is respecting your feelings without letting them control you. Responding means you treat your emotions as signals, not commands. You feel anger, but you don't let it decide your words. You feel fear, but you don't let it decide your actions. You feel pressure, but you don't let it decide your judgment. You become the driver, not the passenger of your emotional car. When you learn to respond, situations that once overwhelmed you begin to look manageable. Conversations that once scared you become easier. Decisions that once felt heavy become clear. You start becoming someone who rises above emotional storms rather than being swept away by them. People begin to trust you because they see stability in you. They notice that you don't break easily, that you don't lose control, that you don't react blindly, that steadiness becomes one of your greatest strengths. Responding is also a sign of inner confidence. Panic is born from insecurity. When you don't trust your ability to handle a moment, you panic. But when you know you can navigate the moment, your mind stays collected. That calmness makes your thinking sharper, your presence stronger. You begin to understand that pressure is not a threat, it is a test. And when you respond instead of panicking, you pass that test with clarity. The moment you stop letting panic control you, everything changes. Your communication improves, your relationships deepen, your decision-making becomes wise, and your actions align with your goals. You stop sabotaging yourself, and you start leading yourself. You become someone who can be relied upon, someone who can handle heat without melting, someone who can stay centered even when the world around you is shaking. Life will continue to challenge you. There will be unexpected turns, sudden pressures, emotional tests. But as long as you respond and do not panic, You remain the master of the moment. You remain grounded in wisdom instead of drowning in fear. The moment doesn't overpower you, you handle it with strength, clarity, and inner calm. One of the biggest reasons people break down in difficult moments is that they pour their energy into things they cannot control. They waste time worrying about outcomes they cannot predict, decisions they cannot change, opinions they cannot influence, and situations they cannot rewrite. When the mind gets trapped in the territory of what is uncontrollable, it becomes weak, confused, anxious, and overwhelmed. But when you take back your energy and direct it into what you can control, your reaction, your intention, your preparation, your attitude, you regain power. You stop feeling helpless. You stop feeling lost. You regain clarity and strength. Focusing on what you can control is not about ignoring reality, it is about mastering reality. In life, there will always be uncertainties, circumstances you did not expect, and behaviors from others that you cannot dictate. People will misjudge you, misunderstand you, sometimes disrespect you, plans will fail, delays will happen, conditions will become tough. But none of those things decide your future. Your response does. When you focus on what you cannot control, your mind loses energy. It gets stuck in, why did this happen to me? Why don't people see my effort? What if everything goes wrong? But when you shift your focus to what you can control, the questions change. They become, what can I learn from this? What is the best response I can give? What step can I take next? The mind becomes practical instead of emotional. Suddenly, the moment stops controlling you. You start controlling the moment. Imagine two people facing the same challenge. One keeps thinking about what went wrong, blaming circumstances, feeling frustrated, wasting hours in overthinking. The other takes a deep breath, observes what is still possible, and puts effort into what is within their control. Who has a better chance of moving forward? The second one, because energy used wisely creates movement. Energy wasted on worries creates paralysis. Life doesn't punish you for difficulty. Life punishes you for pouring energy where no result can come. Focusing on what you can control is like redirecting water from a leaking pipe into something useful. You seal the mental leak, and suddenly you have the power to grow. A mind that focuses on uncontrollable things becomes emotional. A mind that focuses on controllable things becomes strategic. When something happens that disappoints you, you cannot control the situation, but you can control how you interpret it. You cannot control people's opinions, but you can control how much importance you give them. You cannot control timing, but you can control your patience. You cannot control what comes into your life unexpectedly, but you can control how you respond internally. That response decides your emotional strength. That response decides your destiny. Many people lose control in moments of pressure, not because the moment is too heavy, but because they direct too much attention outward instead of inward. They think more about what others will say than what they can do. They think more about outcomes than effort. They think more about problems than solutions. But the moment you reclaim your focus and put it on your actions, your discipline, your thinking, your presence, your breath, you suddenly feel empowered. You suddenly realize that the mind is not weak, it just needs direction. Focusing on what you can control also gives peace of mind, because worry comes from trying to control what is outside your power. Peace comes from placing your energy where it belongs. When someone says something hurtful, the natural instinct is to worry about what they think. But if you focus on what you can control, your response, you stay calm. You do not absorb negativity. You protect your emotional space. That is inner mastery. Another deep truth is that focusing on what you cannot control makes you reactive, but focusing on what you can control makes you responsible. Responsibility means you own your choices, you own your actions, you own your behavior. You don't blame circumstances, you don't let uncertainty define you. You don't let pressure defeat you. You step into a mindset where you are not a victim of life, you are a participant shaping it. And this mindset changes everything. Even when everything seems uncertain, there is always something you can control. Your breath, your state of mind, your composure. When the world around you is chaotic, The most powerful thing you can do is remain centered. That is not weakness, that is wisdom, that is strength. Many people believe power is in controlling outcomes, but true power is in controlling yourself, especially when outcomes are unpredictable. The one who controls themselves in pressure wins the moment. Life becomes simple when you understand this truth. You cannot choose what happens, but you can choose what you do with it. You cannot stop storms from coming, but you can learn to navigate them. You cannot erase challenges, but you can grow stronger through them. And every time you choose to focus on what you can control, you reclaim a part of yourself. You grow, you evolve, you strengthen. The moment no longer masters you. You master the moment. The mind has a fascinating tendency. Whenever you face a moment of pressure, it immediately pulls you into the future. It starts imagining outcomes, consequences, failures, judgments, what ifs, worst case possibilities, and things that have not even happened yet. This habit is what destroys inner peace. Instead of focusing on the moment that is right in front of you, the mind tries to live in moments that do not exist. You start fighting imaginary battles, and you lose peace to events that haven't even occurred. Staying present means you bring your awareness back into the moment you are in, rather than letting your imagination drag you ahead and overwhelm you. When you stay present, you protect yourself from anxiety, from confusion, from overthinking, from emotional chaos. Presence is not something mystical or unreachable. It simply means your mind is where your body is. But most people's minds are never here. They are either replaying the past or forecasting the future. And the moment you start planning mentally for outcomes that have not yet arrived, you disconnect from your power. The power you have is not in the future, it is in the present moment. The future depends on how you handle the present. If you handle the present with calmness, clarity, and patience, the future takes care of itself. But if you panic, rush, and overthink the future, the present gets destroyed, and that ruins the future too. When your mind jumps ahead, it begins creating stories. What if I fail? What if they judge me? What if this doesn't work out? What if things get worse? None of those questions have answers because they are built on assumptions. They are built on imagination, not reality. The future is not happening now. Your mind is just trying to predict it. And when you try to predict what hasn't occurred, you become mentally weak. Pressure increases because you are no longer dealing with the current moment. You are carrying the weight of possible moments. It is like trying to lift a weight that does not exist but still crushing yourself mentally. Staying present removes that useless burden. When you remain present, you give full attention to what you are doing right now. Whether you are speaking, thinking, listening, planning, working, or deciding, you allow your energy to stay focused, not scattered. Imagine trying to run while looking backward. You will stumble. That is how life works when the mind is not in the present. You make mistakes because you are not paying attention. You miss opportunities because your mind is distracted. You sabotage moments because your focus is elsewhere. Being present sharpens your awareness like a lens, allowing you to see clearly, act wisely, and respond skillfully. Sometimes the future scares people because they feel they cannot control it. But that fear disappears the moment you return to the present, because you realize that the only thing you truly need to handle is what is happening now. Not tomorrow, not next month, not next year. The moment you're in holds everything you need to deal with. If you give your best to the current moment, the next moment automatically becomes better. Staying present frees you from unnecessary pressure and frees your mind from anxiety. People lose peace not because life is too hard, but because they mentally travel too far. They are not tested by life, they are tested by their imagination. Presence makes you realistic. It brings you back into clarity. When you are present, you don't worry about 5 problems, you deal with one. You don't carry the whole future, you carry the step in front of you. And when you do that, pressure becomes manageable. Presence turns chaos into simplicity. In every big moment of your life, the key will not be to outthink the future. The key will be to handle the present. If you are speaking to someone, be fully with them. If you are working, be fully with the task. If you are facing a challenge, be fully available to solve it. The moment you split your attention between now and an imagined future, your strength drops. But when your attention unites with the present moment, your strength rises. You feel grounded, you feel centered, you feel clear. Presence also helps you emotionally. Anxiety comes from future thinking, regret comes from past thinking, but peace comes from present thinking. When you are present, you feel stable inside. You breathe properly, you think properly, you decide properly. You are no longer acting from fear, you are acting from awareness. You are no longer reacting impulsively, you are responding intelligently. The mind becomes calm even in chaos. Staying present is not escape, it is mastery. It is not ignorance, it is wisdom. The greatest skill is not predicting the future, but being conscious in the present. Because the present moment is the only moment you ever truly live. It is where your power is. It is where your awareness works. It is where peace exists. Life changes when you live in presence. The moment no longer dominates you, you navigate it with clarity. You don't drown in possibilities, you stand firmly in reality. You don't lose control because your foundation is here, not somewhere ahead. When you master presence, you master the moment. And when you master the moment never masters you. There comes a stage in every individual's life where they realize that what they have been avoiding is actually the very thing that has been shaping them. Challenges are not just problems, they are catalysts. Resistance is not just discomfort, it is instruction. The moment we fear is not our enemy, it is our teacher. To understand this, we must first accept that everything uncomfortable that appears in our path has a purpose behind it, even if that purpose is not visible immediately. When you start looking at situations not through survival, but through awareness, suddenly they stop feeling like attacks and start feeling like lessons. It takes maturity to get to this realization, but once you do, life becomes less intimidating and more empowering. You cannot control everything that happens to you, but you can control how you interpret what happens, and that is where your power lives. Most people waste their time wishing things were different instead of working with what they currently have. When you work with what is in your control, you shift from victim mode to creator mode. You take responsibility for your thoughts, your reactions, your choices, and your consequences. It is not about suppressing emotions. It is about transforming them. When anger comes, you recognize it as unprocessed fear. When insecurity arises, you see it as a reminder of where your internal work still needs attention. This insight is what separates the reactive from the wise, the impatient from the steady, the overwhelmed from the empowered. There is a subtle but powerful shift that occurs when you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this teaching me?" The second question allows growth. The first question paralyzes you. Life is not trying to break you, it is trying to shape you. But shaping happens through pressure, not comfort. You cannot become mentally strong by reading motivational quotes. You become strong by facing inner chaos without letting it derail you. You cannot develop emotional wisdom by always being in control. You develop it when you learn how to stay centered when things are not going your way. And the moment you understand that discomfort is simply life's way of strengthening your capacity, your resentment ends and acceptance begins. You start looking at your experiences not as punishments, but as instructions. The moments that used to frustrate you start guiding you. The situations that used to trigger you start awakening you. You start realizing that nothing is meaningless, nothing is wasted, nothing is random. Everything has intention, even if you cannot decode it immediately. And when you live with this awareness, you become calmer. Not because your life is easy, but because you have learned to respond instead of react. You choose your inner state rather than letting external noise choose it for you. And this choice is where true strength lies. When you stop allowing external circumstances to hijack your internal peace, you take back ownership of your life. The world around you will always fluctuate, but if you cultivate internal steadiness, you are no longer tossed around by its unpredictability. You can speak clearly even when others are yelling. You can think rationally even when situations are chaotic. You can stay committed to your path even when people doubt you. This discipline is not dramatic or loud. It is subtle and silent, but incredibly powerful. It makes you sovereign inside yourself. Every person has a moment in life when they realize that growth demands discomfort, not tempora. Why discomfort? Not selective discomfort, but constant productive discomfort. And when you stop resisting it, life starts opening doors you never imagined. Opportunities appear because you're no longer afraid to say yes. Clarity appears because your mind is no longer cluttered with complaints. Progress appears because you are now choosing discipline over impulses. Life responds to people who are willing to grow, not to people who always want things easy. Growth is rewarding, but growth is not gentle. It requires honesty, humility, patience, and willingness to let go of old versions of yourself. When discomfort becomes your teacher, you begin understanding yourself deeply. You start acknowledging your patterns, your weaknesses, your fears, your blind spots. You stop hiding from the parts of you that feel imperfect. You start working on them with curiosity instead of judgment. And that's when transformation truly begins. You evolve mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You begin to respect your journey instead of comparing it. You stop chasing validation because you realize your worth isn't dependent on anyone's approval. You start living fully, not fearfully. You start mastering your moment, not being mastered by it. And that shift, that inner revolution, is what gives you the power to navigate whatever comes your way with grace, clarity, and confidence.